The Nuttycombe Invitational is officially over, and that means that Division I Cross Country is well on their way to crowning a national champion. I admit I have not heard much about the cross country season up until this point. I mean, you gotta put in work if you want to know what's going on out there in this sport. Because fall, when it comes to college sports, it's all about football. You might even hear some things about volleyball or, bare minimum about soccer here and there. Like, those sports are visible. But then you have cross country, which you really don't see or hear much about. But Nuttycombe is a big deal. And not all, but many of the top teams in the nation showed up to go out there and throw hands. So now we have a pretty good idea of who's real and who's not, on both the men's and the women's sides. Now, the top teams for both the men and the women. Iowa State, Oklahoma State on the men's side, and on the women's side, it's pretty much so hands down BYU without much challenge. Neither of them were at Nuttycombe. But I'm going to tell you what happened when everybody else did. Because now that I've had time to go through the results, we had new national polls that came out. I saw the old polls before it. I'm actually kind of curious, where is this thing going to end? Because somebody's going to have to be a national champion when this is all done. And college cross country is probably the closest thing we have to anything that's actually done right when it comes to college track and field. The difference is that most people just don't care about cross country, or at least that's how I feel. Which is why I continue to title these videos, does anybody actually care about cross country? Because I don't know. I mean, there's always a community who kinda does. And that's, I guess, who I'm talking to right now. But in a world where we don't have Parker Valby, or for that matter, Caitlin Toohey to snatch at the headlines, or even Graham Blanks representing Harvard in the Ivy League to go out there and win a national title. Like, none of those things are gonna happen. Somebody new is going to have to take the crown. So here we go. On the men's side, New Mexico went out there and dominated the men's race. There's really two ways to look at it. One is on the point score. I think they were like 51 to Colorado's 150. That's who was behind them. And the other is to look at average time across the board. I think that's a better indication for me about just how strong your team is. And they beat everybody else by at least 20 seconds for the most part. So yes, New Mexico is legit. They are number 3 in the nation. They were the highest ranked team coming into Nuttycombe who actually showed up. And then they proved why they had that ranking by showing out. And if you just follow the chalk, Colorado losing to them but going second was also supposed to happen because they were the next highest ranked national team on the list to start for this race. But Syracuse finishing third is a very big deal because coming into the meet, they weren't ranked all that highly. And they beat Wisconsin, Notre Dame, BYU, all of which were supposed to be ranked higher than them. So they're staking their claim as a legitimate contender. Now, when I say contender, I mean, top 5 at nationals, something like that. But hey, it is what it is. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section because I try to read them all. And of all the other teams who showed up to the meet, NAU climbed to the top of what was a very messy pack of like at least 8 to 10 teams behind the top 3. I mean, NAU has a new coach, and apparently him getting them to the top, like the front of this, middle pack, I guess you would say, it's still a very big deal. But they're a program that has won so many national titles. I referred to them, some time ago as one of the biggest dynasties in all of college sports. Because when you win, that many national titles in the course of a decade, you really hadn't seen anything like that in any other sport. Just being real about it. But that was then, and this is now. But NAU is still a team to take seriously. But I also wouldn't be shocked if any of the other 8 teams that were in like a 15-second window with them at Nuttycombe mixed it up at the national championships later on this season. I mean, that pack included a bunch of the usual suspects, but you also had some wild cards in there like Tulane and Cal Baptist. So we'll see how it goes when we get to the nationals, because you got to get through the regionals first if you want to show up there. Yet the women's race was something different entirely, because NC State was the highest ranked team coming in, number 2 in the nation behind BYU, who wasn't there. And they ran away from the field. Like, it really wasn't close. Grace Hartman was at the front of the pack, but ultimately NC State, as far as I'm concerned, was running a time trial, because they know that it's them versus BYU for the national title. That's a story. Like, that's an actual battle we've seen in the past. But we don't know how it's going to go this time. Of course, many people are assuming that BYU is going to repeat. So this type of a statement victory tells me that they are clearly not on board with that. But Notre Dame finished number 2 behind them, albeit they were 20 seconds slower on average time, which actually matters to me. And they were number 7 in the nation, allegedly, heading into that meet. So I guess they kinda took care of business. The race got kinda messy on the point scores from there, because Iowa State and West Virginia went number 3 and number 4 at Nuttycombe, and heading into that meet, they're ranked 16th and I believe 9th respectively. So, I guess, they're just kinda, beating up on each other. I mean, once you get to the middle of the pack, like even in the top 25, things could go either way. And then there's the field, where Northwestern finished 5th overall to lead a pack of 6 teams that were all within a 10-second swing. And keep in mind, the ladies of New Mexico were also in that group that finished behind them, but they would rank top 5 in the nation heading into the meet. So, do with that information what you will, because I don't know who's doing these national polls, but I'm not entirely sure it's all based on the races that we get to watch. The fact of the matter is that the cross-country national championship push is, on one end, incredibly predictable, but it's also a very wild ride, because the teams that have a legit shot to win at the top normally have all the best talent. I mean, NC State and BYU going 1-2 on the women's side, obviously, they have the best recruits. And because as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like either of them have anybody else who can run with them except each other. We're just going to have to wait till the national championship race to see how that's going to finish. So if you actually care about Division I cross country, considering I don't see anybody else in the media who's really saying anything about it, certainly not on television like ESPN and all of their friends. For now, I guess you're stuck with me. So I'll be paying attention when we get towards the conference championship meets, specifically when they're over, and the regional championships. So I'm going to try to check in between now and then. But ultimately, we're still waiting to see who will be the next national champion. Even if the next one is the same one that we had last year. We actually made it all the way to the end of this video. I do have to admit that thank you doesn't do it justice anymore, because you are a real one. And if you want more from me beyond this video, on SCArecruiting.com, you can get a ton of resources, like my free recruiting guide, online courses, and much more, including the option to meet with me one-on-one, where my specialty is helping you figure out which schools might actually be the best fit for you. And if nothing else, and you really just want to see more content like this, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.